Mossy, a dramatic game there, a pure cagey, scrappy game, but nonetheless a very entertaining game of football.
It was, yeah, it was very tight. It took a while to get going from a Dublin perspective. They were very stop-start in the first half, and Roscommon were very strong. They would have been very pleased with how the first half performance went. They were creating some good chances. They were moving the ball around. Now, again, from a Dublin perspective, they were quite passive. They seemed like they were conceding the Roscommon kick-outs, and Roscommon held possession for a number of minutes at a time, and in particular the score right at the end of the first half, the brilliant score, I think it was Kieran Murtagh kicked at the end, but Roscommon held possession for the guts of 4 or 5 minutes, and it was a bit surreal watching it here in the stadium. So I think you could see the intent Dublin changed in the second half. They pressed up on the kick-out, they pressed up when Roscommon had possession. Roscommon found it far tougher in the second half.
You know, Davy Burke, he's one of these new modern, obviously he's obviously by his age he's a lot younger, but he's such a well disciplined. We've heard him talk so many times about protecting the D, and for that first period of the game he got his homework right.
He did, yeah, and you could see it. And again, it was similar to what they did to Mayo in the Connacht Championship as well, how they frustrated them and how they clogged up that space. And they were saying, look, if Dublin were going to score, they're going to have to score from difficult positions. And even early on, Cormac Costello got the first score of the game. It was an excellent point, but he was nearly on the 45, kicking it with his left foot. And Con got another one coming in along the end line, fisting it over the bar. But there wasn't too many other clear-cut chances. It wasn't as if Dublin were creating a lot to miss a lot. So it was he would have been very, very pleased from a defensive point of view. They did find it a little bit harder when Dublin did press them in the second half. The Dublin goal came from a turnover when they were pressed higher, and ball came through the hands, Conor O'Callaghan, James McCarthy, and then John Small bundled it over the line. So you could see when Dublin put a bit more of a press on, it was harder for Roscommon, but David Burke will be absolutely delighted with how they set up defensively. And that
Murtagh score that you mentioned there, we said held the ball for so long, a few boos even from the home supporters. They didn't like it, maybe out Dublin the Dubs, if that's a term, and there's a huge Roscommon roar going off at the interval there.
There was, yeah, it was massive, and again, it just kind of put the exclamation point on a really positive first half performance for them. And again, you could see Dublin were trying to go man on man, and they were being patient. Roscommon goalkeeper come out and got involved in the possessions a number of times, so he was creating the extra man to be able to pass it around. And Dublin eventually got a little bit frustrated, and 1 or 2 players jumped in. It was a little bit rash, and they created that kind of piggy in the middle effect. And Roscommon came down and kicked a brilliant score. And again, it was a testament to their first half performance.
We praise Roscommon and their management for the first half period, but on the flip side is Dessie and his management staff. They got it right. They were, as you touched on, pushed up on the kick out, pushed a lot higher up the pitch for the second half.
Yeah, I'd imagine there was a lot of honesty in the dressing room at half time. The players would have known themselves that the performance levels weren't where it needed to be. So again, whoever was doing the talking, it worked, and you could see from the start of the second half Dublin were far more efficient. There was much more of a threat up front, and they started getting runners coming from deep, a little bit more pace coming through the moves, and again you could see the impact in the second half.
That goal as well, it was such a big moment of the game. The fact that it comes from, listen lads, this is exactly what we told you need to do at half time, that gave Dublin oxygen there.
It did indeed, yeah. And again, when they get a press on and when they're a bit more intent in their tackle rather than being standing off, you can see the difference that it made. And again, just good pace. Conor O'Callaghan, good decision making as well. You could see he got quick hands through to James McCarthy, and then James he was fouled in the process of laying it off to John Small, and it was a well-deserved goal.
Second half then became a real sort of arm wrestle. It was a slog. There was missed opportunities on both sides, but Roscommon just never died down, and they'll probably be disappointed with a couple of wides of their own.
They did, yeah. To be honest, it looked like Dublin were going to close it out. They went 2 up, and again they were in possession a couple of times, and I think Brian Fenton had a miss when, again, very unlike him in very scoreable position, and Cormac Costello kicked an excellent free to put Dublin in front. But in fairness to Roscommon, they kept going, and even though they looked like they were tiring coming near the end, their subs made a bit of an impact, and they made 2 big plays. Well, they got 2 frees at the end, but they were in possession then, and they were the ones, if either team were looking like they were going to get the winner, they were the one with the chances. They had a chance from play, which just drifted wide, and then they had a free at the end from Conor Cox, who was probably just outside his range, and he tried to force it a little bit. But no, in fair, I'd say the Roscommon players and management would be very, very happy with how they finished the game this evening.
That finished the game is probably modern football in a nutshell. Up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, there was a bit of that. There wasn't too much shape, and you could see there was great excitement in the stands as well, because I think everyone realised whenever there was a turnover that there was numbers carrying the ball. The players were taking chances. There was risks, and I think that's the beauty of the format of the championship at the moment. While there's not, you could say, massive stakes here today. Neither team was finishing up if they lost here today, but you could see how much both teams wanted to win it, and you could see them both going for the win today.
It's a result now that kind of blows the group kind of wide open now almost. We're probably looking at already counting on score difference at some stage.
Yeah, it is, and again, I suppose that's just I'm interested to see how it pans out over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, Kildare and Sligo are going to have a say in how the rest of the group goes, and I think it's set up well. And I think this is what you want from the football championship. You want good teams playing each other at this time of year in terms of where you get multiple games week on week, and that's what we're getting.
A lot of talk in the build-up about Dublin going to face a Division 1 side for the first time. The fact that the game finished as it did, that'll be a lot of homework, but that'll be a huge help to the progression now of this Dublin team.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think you could argue Derry obviously in Division 2 this year, and then the league final have been the best team Dublin have played all year to date, and I think Roscommon were up around that level again. And you could see defensively when they were set up in the first half, Dublin struggled with it as they did possibly against Derry in the league as well. So I think that's something that they'll look at going forward, and they know the challenges are only going to get stiffer, so it'll stand to them as the championship progresses.
Dublin obviously one of the the most contenders for the title now as well. How do you think they're shaping up now after this?
Yeah, I suppose it's hard to know, to be honest. Again, they're looking for that consistency. We've seen in Leinster they had a good performance, a poor performance, a good performance. I'd say today was mixed. I'd say they were very disappointed with their first half, but they were better at times in the second half. But again, they'd be frustrated that they didn't close the game out. So I think that's something that they're going to go after. Again, they have a quick turnaround now till next week. I'd say looked like they shipped a couple of injuries there today. So again, you'll see the strength and depth on the squad is going to be tested, and as will every county. And I think that's one of the things through these group stages. Can one or two players come in? Larkin O'Dell come in, made a good impact off the bench here today, and guys like that and other players will be looking to come in and do likewise next week.
And then lastly on Roscommon, probably a similar sort of theme, that great victory over Mayo, then disappointed how they were defeated by Galway. It's a case of just repeating that performance again because they were so good for large periods of that game.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be really happy with it. I think there was arguably more positives for them to take out of today, and again I think that's something they'll build on. They play Sligo next, and I think that's an opportunity for them. They'll see that as an opportunity to get back to winning ways and try and put up a big score. You've seen the talents that their forwards have, and I think they'll go after that game next week.
Well, these groups are always going to be a little bit unique. We don't know what to expect, but certainly delighted with round one here.
Yeah, no, it was very good. It was an interesting game today, and again we're looking forward to the next few games.